got the almost 10. Of course, if you guys know how this works, Stein writes the list every week. You can catch it on Fridays on the website every week. And then, of course, we get into the almost 10, which are those books that maybe were just close to making the list, but most importantly, they're books that Stein or Richie or me kind of see throughout the week that are like, man, that's a cool book that maybe people might not know about and people should know about. So let's get into the new list, you guys, for the almost 10. Starting off with a weird one, a really weird one. I'm hoping that this is the right book. Dreamweaver number 3.
That is the right book. And like now that I see the cover like blown up, it's a more awesome cover than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Like it's like space is strangling the dude.
And I've never ever heard of this book. I've never seen it. It's from 1988, and it was written and illustrated by Bob Langford. Issues 1 through 3 are out there. Issue number 3 is the origin issue, and it's a special origin issue. But there are issues 1 and 2, black and white on the interior, old school, independent comic book.
Yeah. So this one, I'd never heard of it either. So for $90 this week, I don't even know where some of these independent comics come from, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like there's 3 of them? A three issue series. Nice.
Darth Lopez says, no, I'd only go if Dollar was there because will always be the Spec King. Amen. Amen. I don't know why, guys, why anybody else would think otherwise.
Oh yeah, and I was going to mention, it's not anywhere this week, but remember last week, Brian, how we talked about that Abolition of Man #1? So there's been quite a little bit of buzz around that. There's still very few copies. There's a couple sellers that you might be able to pop one up on eBay every once in a while to get it for $7-8. But they actually reached out to me. They're going to send, they're supposed to send me a signed copy, and I'm going to give it away as soon as I get it. So
no, you're not going to give it away. You're giving that book to me because that was my fucking idea. I'm just joking. Shout out to who is the publisher on that? I forget.
It was like Living the Life. On this one or on the Abolition?
No, on Abolition of Man.
It was like Living the Life or something like that. It's something I'd never even heard of before. But
that's it. I mean, it's such a great idea. Shout out to them.
I've seen a couple.
Living the Line is what it is. Living the Line.
Living the Line.
Yes. And I am very, very interested in that series. If you guys don't know what we are talking about, this is a book that was on the Almost 10 last week, and just a fascinating idea. We've been talking about AI art on the Hot 10 and on Beyond Wednesdays for quite a while. We have a little segment that we like to kind of just do a little dive on AI art and AI artists out there, or just AI, people that are plugging in words and stuff. But this was such a great idea that multiple people thought of it. Great minds think alike. So shout out to Living the Line. I also heard that there was a rare 1 in 10 version. Now
1 of 10. Yeah, there's only 10.
Of 10.
Oh yeah, only 10, and it's got the same cover, but when you open it up, all the interior art is different, and it tells you this is 1 of 10 copies of this book.
That is amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Living the Line, congrats to you. Great job, and I love to see the response from them. So very, very cool. All right, let's continue. Again, number 1 on the Almost 10 this week was this Dreamweaver number 3. The special origin issue with a gorgeous old school cover. That's actually a really good cover.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, bro.
Really, really good.
I mean, would you call that negative space in the sense? I mean, it's like space, and in the space, like the silhouettes make his arm, and he's strangling the guy. It looks like the Fred Mercury.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it does look like Freddie Mercury. I don't know what the series is about. I would love to know if anybody out there has read this series. Issue number 1 is right here for anybody that wants to look for issue number 1. Another Freddie Mercury image on the front cover. Must be the main character, but definitely a crazy looking book. So be on the lookout for any of those issues. But issue number 3 is definitely a cool one. So Dreamweaver number 3. What did this? You saw one of these sold?
Yeah, for $90.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty damn cool. All right. Next book on the list this week. A badass G.I. Joe cover right here. This is G.I. Joe number 264, the Fraga variant. This is the B cover for G.I. Joe. They're getting ready to come to an end for IDW, which is kind of a bummer because they've kind of held up the lantern of G.I. Joe over the last so many years. And, you know, shout out to them for coming up with some great ideas, some great art, cover art. Putting John Royal on variants over there was such a great thing. And who doesn't love nostalgia and, you know, Timberwolf on the cover?
Yeah. And now, who is it? Who is picking up the publishing?
That's what we don't know yet. But I tell you what, I have who I want to pick up the publishing. If I couldn't have Quentin Tarantino write my G.I. Joe, I want Robert frickin' Kirkman to do it.
So you think it's going to go back to Image?
I don't know. I don't want it to go back to Image. I want it to go to Skybound. And I know Image is an imprint, or Skybound's an imprint under Skybound, under Image. I hope I said that right. Let's say that again. I know that Skybound is an imprint under Image, but I specifically want G.I. Joe to go to Skybound, and I want Robert Kirkman to write that shit. Be amazing. That's what we need. So,
I didn't know Skybound was a subsidiary of Image. I thought it was something completely different. Oh wow, that's
yes. Robert Kirkman is considered one of the Image is it CEOs, or they actually brought him on board once Walking Dead kind of blew up. They made him one of them, one of us. Is that what it was in Freaks? One of us. I can't remember. Remember that old school movie Freaks? Anyways, G.I. Joe 264, the Fraga variant, pretty damn cool. Be on the lookout for this. This one sells for a lot. Whenever it sells.
$75 for
open to order. Yeah.
Yeah, for a B cover.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's very interesting. That's for sure. We'll see what happens with the. There's a couple final issues, right? I don't think 300's come out yet, but
no, I think they're either at 298 or 299. They're really close.
Yeah, and they've got some really cool. They've always done really cool connecting covers over there. A la this right here. It looks like a connecting cover, but you know what they have. I hope they have something like really cool planned for the final issue. We'll see though. We'll see. All right. Next on the list, on the almost 10, we've got a very interesting book. This is Plasm number 0. Now, here's what's interesting about this. And, okay. So, it was the first release from Jim Shooter's Defiance comic line, right? And it wasn't distributed as an insert. It was distributed as an insert and glued into copies of the previous magazine. It means that most of them are just trashed, right? So there were examples that were given out to artists and employees and friends of Shooter, and these are referred to as the staple variant or the one staple variant. And they're held together at the spine by a single staple. Very few of these have turned up, and none, I guess, have been certified in the 9.8, except for one, I think, right? Is there one that's been 9.8 cop? I can't. I'm not sure about
CGC?
that. But,
CGC
yeah.
or CB? Oh, there's
CGC.
Yeah, I've never seen one on CGC, but I've seen multiple on CBCS.
Okay, and this is a very interesting book. Now, here's what's very interesting about this, and I can't be certain because I just haven't got up to walk over to find out. But this either came in the previews with Batman, the first Azrael as Batman on the previews, or it came in the previews with Spawn on it. Because I have this. And I didn't know about this. Now, it's not this copy because mine is inserted in the previews. The ones that were given away were ones that weren't inserted in the previews, and they stapled them together. The one staple, a la the one staple variant of Plasm number 0. Pretty crazy. What did this sell for?
It is. I was, well, yeah, in fine condition, which again, I mean, now you would think that the one staples would be in better condition than the ones that were glued into the previews, but in fine condition, this sold. There was actually several of them that sold this week in the $50 to $60 range. I don't know if one person was buying them all. I really don't like. I haven't thought about. And I was thinking Warriors of Plasm because wasn't that the actual title? It was Warriors of Plasm, not just Plasm.
That's a great question. I can't remember that.
I think the book itself. I mean, I'm trying to think back into the early '90s when this came out. But I mean, I haven't thought about this book in 30 years. I mean, nobody cares about this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the one we're speaking on right now that Bryan was talking about, or the one that's on the screen, that's the Plasm Diamond insert published by Defiant.
Yep.
Warriors of Plasm, you're right, Ben. Also published by Defiant. That is the beginning of the ongoing 13 issues.
Very cool.
Now everybody that's watching this is going to be like, man, I've got like 800 copies of this thing. I'm going to go look for the single staple variant.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're probably only going to find them in either unless you got handed one or if you have old school previews lying around, because that's where they were in. So pretty interesting. Very interesting. All right. Next, a gorgeous J. Scott Campbell cover that a lot of people do not know about. Shout out to Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, who again put out some really, really cool books. Most notably this. I also like Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, the #1 Liberty Comics #1 issue, which also has a gorgeous J. Scott Campbell cover with a very rare boys insert. Man, this is a cool book right here. And there's some great Elephant Men covers out there that are severely underrated.
Yeah, that whole series, most of their print runs for Elephant Men was like below 2,000. I mean, they were so low print run. But there's actually there's a incentive ratio or incentive variant for this with a black and white that is virtually impossible. There is one of those on. Yeah, there's a 9.8 on eBay up right now. It's like I think he's asking like 600 or something like that. I wasn't even sure up until about a year ago that book even existed. But this one's not easy to find either. There is a B cover to this. I think it's a Tim Sale cover, which is good as well. But yeah, this is a $25 book. So it's a $6 cover price. I wouldn't think that many shops ordered it.
Right.
I mean,
I think you can only get it from their website if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah, because the Liberty one you could only get from their website. And here's a little info that I don't let leak very often, but you know me, I'm just too honest not to. I came across them on the website, and back in the day, the Liberty #1s, and I must have bought 10 of them. Yeah. And they had, you got 5, you got one cover would be the J. Scott Campbell, and then your second one was back for Liberty #1. It's a Mignola cover, a Hellboy cover. And of course, CBLDF, if you guys don't know, it's not a charity, but a organization that likes to have money available for comic book creators. Is that right? I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very interesting. Let me take a look on that. Let me just double check.
Kind of like the Hero Initiative.
Yes, I believe so. All right, let's see here. About, let's see what is up with the Legal Defense Fund. The CBLDF is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the protection of the First Amendment rights of the comics art form and its community of retailers, creators, publishers, librarians, and readers. The CBLDF provides legal referrals, representation, advice, assistance, and education in furtherance of these goals. So there you go. Interesting. Very interesting.
What year is this from?
Maybe 2013, 2014, something like that.
It's an awesome cover. I mean, you can barely tell it's J. Scott Campbell until you look at the woman real close, you know? Nice.
Yeah, of course Redhood would have 3 of them. He's got 8 of everything. Means he sold 5.
Edwin
2015.
Aguilar's. Yeah, it says 2015.
Very, very cool. All right. And you said this selling a $25 book?
25. Yep.
Nice. All right, this next one is very interesting to me. I'm a big fan of David Cho. And if you guys don't know, David Cho had a comic book that he put out very early in his career that is very, very rare, very tough to find. David Cho, a modern artiste who is just a really, really cool, funny guy. And if you have never heard of him or looked into him, go watch his Joe Rogan interviews. They're very interesting. But yeah, this is a David Cho Superman red and blue #2 variant.
This looks like this belongs in the Abolition of Man.
Yes.
It's very, very strange.
And that's kind of David Cho's art. It is strange like that. That's for sure.
I have absolutely no clue what is going on, but this is selling for upwards of $25 to $30 for this B cover of Superman red and blue. I don't.
Wow.
David Cho, man, I'm telling you, 100%. David Cho is like, he's not just like a regular comic artist. He's like a Andy Warhol type artist, if that makes sense. Like
an artist.
Yeah. Big time American artist. Yeah, man. Here's for those of you guys that don't know, let me give you a quick idea of David Cho and his art. This is his website. And you can kind of get an idea of his art and what he's about. He has a podcast called The Cho Show. So very interesting. Let's take a look at some of his early stuff. Let's see. There's his comic book right there, if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe not. But his comic looks like that. But there you go. You guys can see early David Cho art. And then let's take a look at recent David Cho art. There you go. There's recent David Cho art. So very interesting, but pretty cool that, he's a comic fan. Obviously, he started off his career with some comics. Shout out to Dank Comics and the Dank Show on YouTube and Simple Man's. He talks about David Cho all the time and probably has a bunch of these hanging out. So yeah, he was on Rogan and he was talking about chasing after a dinosaur in the jungle. And I imagine that DMT helped him find that dinosaur. So yeah. All right. Next on the list. All right, you guys, this is an interesting one. We talked about this next one on Wednesday night on the Radar Show. Shout out to the crew over there, Trey, Big Leg, Marcus, and Vinny, where we brought up in the market report this crazy, quote unquote, unpublished John Byrne Fantastic Four 293 book. Now, the reason that I brought this up on the show, specifically the market report that I do, is because it had sold for a ton of money. A copy of this I should say the copy of this sold on eBay, as you can see, for $710. Wow. Now, this is important for multiple reasons. One, because it's a crazy looking book. If you guys don't know about this cover, the original cover is this really famous She-Hulk cover. That's supposedly the original cover. And this is supposedly an unpublished version. And as you can see, it looks pretty crazy, right? It kind of even has a spine tick. It almost looks real, right? That doesn't look real, right? You can see how bright white that inner cover is.
It looks like it has spine. You're right. Oh,
That's real. The interior is real. The back cover, super bright white. There's the back cover. But you guys, don't be fooled, okay? And here's the problem. Shout out to Big Leg, who immediately said, this guy is a charlatan. And by this guy, I mean the seller of the book, Imagination Inc. And at the time, I didn't necessarily want to call him out. Too bad, because I didn't look into it much. I would love to get him on the show to talk about this. But look at some of the books he is selling.
Oh, this is the same guy with that Teen Titans.
You got it. You got it. He takes a lot of books. He republishes covers. He makes his own covers and his own art and puts it on other. And let me show you some of his sales, because this is the problem out there, you guys. There are people out there who are going to sell you books and say they're real. And as you can see here, it says Rare Fantastic Four 293, quote, unpublished, end quote, She-Hulk variant by John Byrne. In the description, it says last issue by John Byrne. That's all it says. This guy should not be on eBay, in my opinion. He's selling fake books. Let's take a look at some of the other items that he has for sale, or items especially that he's sold. Let's go ahead and take a look at his sold listings. Okay. Now, as you guys can see, that's a sketchbook. Last Galactus story reprint from Epic. They never reprinted this. He reprinted this and put its own cover on it. They didn't never finish this story. The Last Galactus story, they never finished. It was in Epic Illustrated magazines number 26 through 34. And because they ended Epic Illustrated before they finished the story, it never got finished. That is fake. There's other fake books on here, as you guys will see in a second here. He sells a lot of fake books. And for those of you guys who have been around CBSI, or most notably Unpressable Defects for a long time, you guys remember the brass staple story and Flipside when Dino and Sean decided to buy some really expensive variants that came back with brass staples. Well, this is the same type of thing. This guy, it seems to be that he sells a lot of fake stuff. And again, I say it seems to be, because that's the way it looks to me. And I would love to have Imagination Inc. come on here to kind of explain himself, because these are not real books. That's not a real book that I know of. Is it? Have you ever seen this virgin cover of?
Well, they do things weird in Canada, right? So.
Well, this is what he says, and this to me is why immediately why he should not be here. He says, bidders be aware that this comic was found, among others, in an abandoned warehouse and is a possible misprint. Minor bullshit. This didn't get found in an abandoned warehouse. That's what he says on all of his books, by the way, including the John Byrne unpublished cover. This right here, same thing. Found in an abandoned warehouse. This is one of the craziest variants you're ever going to see. And he even puts spine ticks in them to kind of make them feel real.
wow.
But this is one of the rarest variants you're ever going to see. And people are bidding on it and buying it. I really want to find out if, this book, get out of here. He's got all the crazy variants on here. And I have a feeling, or at least it seems to me, that he's just printing these out and putting them in guts of regular books.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that is what it feels like from the fake John Byrne book, because that is 100. I did my research. I looked on eBay, or not eBay, the internet, for any other mention of this. I can't remember if it was Big Leg or Vinny that said, if it's not on Recalled Comics, it's suspect to me. And I agree with that. This is major suspect to me. This looks too clean on the cover compared to the actual interior of the book. Like, Look how bright white that covers, and you can see the print lines. You see the print lines? Like, you can see the print lines in there where the printer isn't that good. And then he puts the guts of an old book in there. I mean, even with the back cover, if you look at the back cover, here's the back cover. You can see the print lines. So, I don't know, man. At this point, I'm going to say, and that's why we do this, you guys. We talk about these type of books, and so we can find out what's going on. If they're real, they're real, and they could be something cool like this or like this. Real cool books, but not this, which sold for $710.
And if they're not real, he could at least been upfront about it.
Yes.
Right? And that's I think where the slope becomes slippery, in the sense, if you're not going to be honest about it, then you are breaking eBay's guidelines by selling, counterfeit shit. And on top of that, as a community, this is the shit we're all supposed to be looking out for each other for, unless, we, like Bryan was saying, like to get him on the show. And he got permission from Marvel, or maybe he's got some grandfather clause. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but after what you just read on one of his eBay explanations about finding these books in a freaking warehouse, that is suspect as shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very interesting. So be on the lookout, you guys. But I will say this: get the original. The original cover is just as cool. So there you go.
Yep. By the way, there's Canadian price variants for this. They're 95 cents, and there are marked jewelers for these as well.
Boom. All right, next on the list, you guys, a gorgeous Rian Gonzalez cover, Eternal Descent, #1, the 1 in 10 variant. And this is, I mean, Rian Gonzalez is just amazing, absolutely amazing. Continue to put out great work like this, that's for sure.
This is such a weird cover, though, right?
I love it. All the stuff, the little toys in the background, and the dude throwing, the little toy like he's throwing up the devil simps, the horns. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, he's got his tongue out. I don't know, man. That's a cool cover.
It just came out this week. It just came out. It's a 1 in 10, selling for about 15. I would think that supply would be short on this one, but I don't even know what Eternal Descent's about.
It's well, it sold out on the retailer level, I think, within that day, within Wednesday, because I couldn't find one. But what it says in the synopsis or whatever, it says doctorate student and struggling musician Lyra Constance has become obsessed with the occult influence on the history of music, hoping it will lead to her big break as like being a musician. But she soon learns that evil is very real and finds herself cast into the eternal battle between heaven and hell, with the world hanging in the balance.
I like that. I love heaven and hell battle books. Love it. Shout out to Wormwood. Shout out to Wicked and Divine. I'm all about those type of books, man. So very cool. What is this selling for right now?
Like 15.
Not bad. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. All right, next on the list, another gorgeous book. This one, care of Darwin Cook. I mean, who doesn't love that right there, man? Absolutely gorgeous. This is creator-owned Heroes #7, the 1 in 10 Darwin Cook variant. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Rest in peace to the late, great Darwin Cook.
I had never heard of this book, and this was issue #7, so I think this was the last issue. I'd never even heard of creator-owned Heroes. Have you? I mean,
no. I wonder if it's like a CBLDF type thing.
I'm not real sure. This is just a 1 in 10, and sold for $300 this week. So I've literally never heard of this book.
So it's Image Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. So Steve Niles and Scott Morris and more madness from Darwin Cook. Says, locked in a Peruvian prison, Killswitch awaits a Mexican hit squad as he tries to discover who put a bounty on his head and why. The bullets fly as our hero is led into a deadly game of death against the world's best and most eccentric assassins, but the gloves come off when they threaten his family. And then there's a story called Meatball, where Detective Paul DeSanto works the seedy side of LA. He specializes in cheaters and losers, but he never chooses sides. In Hollywood, cheats and losers work both sides of the street. After one of his operatives is eviscerated in an alleyway, DeSanto discovers the strange side of seedy. So I imagine it's probably like a anthology type series with quote unquote creator owned characters, right? Creator owned heroes. So that's pretty cool. I'm all for that. Little short stories, ideas and stuff like that. A 1 in 10 on this book's probably super tough to find.
I would think so, especially as it being the last issue. Yeah, and that's probably why it's probably none of us have ever seen it, and it's probably why it sold for $300.
Yeah. Shout out to Rainbow Brizite 711 $10 super chat, says best start to the weekend every week. Thank you guys for all the hard work and great content. Well, thank you, Rainbow Brizite. We appreciate the hell out of you, and we appreciate every one of you guys that support the show, whether it's by super chats, subs, thumbs up, hanging out in the live chat, dropping comments, or just watching the show. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. So
Specta Deck, that was this is called the series is actually called Creator Owned Heroes.
Right.
Yep. You got it. Very, very cool. And you sold for $300?
$300.
Wow. Very cool. All right. We've got 2 more books on the Almost 10. The next on the list, a weird Savage Dragon book. This is Savage Dragon number 120, the Soul Star variant, which is very rare. And I don't know if it was what is it, a 1 in 10? Do you remember what exactly it is? Is it a Graham Crackers only book?
I do not.
Cover B to me.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how this was distributed. It's the same cover. It's got George Bush and John Kerry in the back,
Right.
but then it's just got Soul Star bursting through the cover
Instead of Savage Dragon.
Right.
Oh yeah.
$550 for this.
I'm telling you, man, and I'll say it again. Eric Larson fans, there's a bunch of them out there that pay a ton of money for rare Eric Larson variants. On the last market report, also we had a rare Eric Larson book that was a Herb Trimp variant that he did, where he homaged an old school Herb Trimp Hulk variant that I'd never ever seen, that sold for a ridiculous amount. So, there's that crazy Eric Larson Walking Dead variant. There's a lot of weird Eric Larson variants out there that go for a ton of money.
I would have never suspected $550.
And Comic Hall Crew says he's one of them. So that's pretty cool, man.
Brian, are you talking about the Savage Dragon 156, where it's homaging the Incredible Hulk 155 or 156?
Yeah.
The 1 in 10? Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Very, very cool book. And Brandon Sager also says, I believe it's Graham Crackers. I thought this was a Graham Crackers book. Shout out to Graham Crackers. I would love at some point to talk to the owner of Graham Crackers Comics on Beyond Wednesdays and talk to him about being one of the very first exclusive retailer variant people out there. I mean, he was doing exclusive retailer variants before anybody knew what they were. So very, very cool. All right. Finally, on the Almost 10, a very cool photo variant. This is The Prisoner number 3 from 2018.
I'm guessing this was a BBC show or something.
Yeah. It was a very famous BBC show. I mean, it caught on. It was like a niche type thing. Big deal. They've been trying to make. I think they tried to remake it. The show. They tried to do a movie on it too. But yeah, old school.
Yeah. So I guess they did photo covers for a lot of these, but this one, for whatever reason, sold for $50. So, again, this is Titan Comics, so it is that Titan does a lot of the British stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty cool, man. Yeah. Wonderworld Comics knows what's up. So, what did this sell for?
50.
Wow.
Whoa, that's
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We've talked about these photo covers for a while, but this is an unusual one for sure.
right. How like he's like all the way on the right, and it's kind of twisted. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
strange.
yeah.
I
like it.
remember finding out about the series. It was either Independent Film Channel or Turner Classic Movies that did like a what do they call that, where they play all the episodes in a row, marathon type thing of the old ones. Yeah, very, very niche classic TV show. Yeah, it's what happens after the Secret Agent Man TV show. There we go. So very cool. All right, you guys, that is the Almost 10.